Hello, my loves. I hope everyone is doing well. I gave no notice that I was going live for October's energy update, which we all know is 10 days longer than I usually give them. I normally give the energy updates before or within the first couple of days of the month, but it just didn't work out that way. So if you're hopping on, let me know that you're here, where you're watching from. If you're on TikTok, know that I am also streaming. I'm mainly streaming this live on YouTube. So if you have to go and you want to come back and check the replay, it will always be available on YouTube. And you can follow me over there as well. And if you have questions throughout this, you can drop them and I will look at them towards the end. So if you're finding me for the very first time, if you're new to me, I'm Johanna Burkhardt. I am a multidimensional channel teacher and healer, and I'm here to help you master your energy management, and to create the life that you are desiring. And so we're going to talk about October. We're just going to have a conversation today about October's energy update. October, what you've already probably been feeling, um, what else you can expect, and just to kind of give you a heads up of the general themes of the energy, and just a reminder that we're all going to experience this differently. So if you're not experiencing anything that I'm talking about, that's okay. We're always going to be experiencing this exactly how we're meant to. And a lot of times, people who maybe we would label unaware, or maybe who are new to their self awareness journey, they might not put two and two together, that this is why they're feeling the way that they're feeling, or why things are falling apart in their life, or why things are falling in line in their life. So from Kauai, oh my God, that's one of my favorite islands. I swear to God, when I land in Kauai, I always feel like I'm at home. So that's so awesome that you're watching from there. I'm so jealous. So we're just gonna have a conversation because I am in good energy. I just got off with a private mentor student, and I've been channeling, and I'm in a good space. And even though my makeup's not done, I'm not normally as I present myself, we're going to go with it anyway. We're going to have a conversation. So feel free, if this resonates, to like, share, get the word out so that more people um, can get this information. So let's talk about October, because if you've been following with these energy updates, you know that we don't usually have we don't I like to kind of make them a little linear. I like to take the quantum and kind of make it into something that we can understand a little bit more. So you'll see that if you've been following the updates, there's been a progression. We are going at an extremely high rate of speed towards the direction that we are actually desiring to go. We are. And in fact, um, in September was really about restructuring, right? In August, we went through this massive frequency increase on the planet. Now, I'm not talking about temporary increases from solar storms, or what some people like to say is shown on the Schumann. These are sustained frequencies, meaning we are watching our planet increase its frequency. That means that we are inhibiting, we are being enveloped, living, residing on a planet that has a higher frequency than it did before. And when that happens, that frequency is all around us. It is all encompassing. We may not be ready to let that in, but when we don't let it in, when we don't allow for this to happen, we don't allow ourselves to receive the frequency, to allow it to do what it needs to do, it starts to push on us. And that's what August was, right? August, we felt the pushing. We felt energies incoming at such a high rate of speed. I gave the analogy of your phone getting a update, right? The Apple updates, the whatever updates you get on an Android. And sometimes when we get those updates, we can't install it because we have too many photos on our phone, or we have too many apps, right? And so we have to make space. But what if we weren't able to make space before the next update came in, and then the next update? So those updates begin to stack up. And that's what was happening in August. So September was an opportunity for us to start making space and integrating those updates, right? Those incoming energies. But what happened was shortly into September, in the time when we were supposed to be making that space and creating the restructure and really like preparing our new structure, so many people were doing that we went through this massive timeline collapse. Massive timeline. The biggest time collapse. I mean, I've been reading energy for a very long time, and I have never, in all of my years of reading energy, ever witnessed a timeline collapse like we did in September. It was huge. I mean, it changed the trajectory and really put us further ahead than I actually perceived us to be. Put us more into that hope, that light at the end of the tunnel energy. Because so many people now, whether you label them aware or unaware, woke or awake, whatever the terminology is these days that everyone's using, it didn't matter. People are starting to no longer fall for the BS. They're starting to tune into themselves. They're starting to choose for themselves. They're starting to be more responsible for themselves. They're starting to take better care of themselves and their mental health and their nervous system over the fear that's being put out there, over all of the scenarios. And it really just changed everything in a way that I can't even fully articulate, because when we look back at this from years from now, we will see this as such a pivotal moment in our lives. And because of that, we are where we are right now with October. October is going to be one of the biggest. I can't give you a word that will accurately describe the drastic change that is coming, that we are in. It's not that it's coming, we're in it. We're in the midst of this change right now. I can't even tell you I can't give you a word that will describe that change. But here's what we're going to feel in that change. So there's some major themes that are going to show up. But first, let's talk about the frequency, because since the beginning, actually, I would say the end of September, the last couple of days of September into even up until last night, we have gone through sustained huge frequency jumps on the planet. Like the frequency of the planet's going like this at a really high rate of speed. So when that happens, we can feel anxious. We can feel like our whole body like we're ungrounded, like we're in fear, like our nervous system is activated. We can feel like we're rushed. We can feel heart palpitations. We can feel like it's too much. We can have extra sensory, right? Where everything's too much. The light is too much. The noise is too much. We're feeling overwhelmed. That can happen because the frequency on the planet is going like this. And if you're sitting with me today, listening to what I'm saying, you are managing this. You are getting through it. You may not think that you're doing a good job of it, or maybe you're doing an excellent job, but maybe it's proving that you know that you're able to manage your energy. But it's massive, the frequency that's coming in right now, and the level of which the planet is rising its frequency. So you may be feeling overactivated, oversensitized. You might be feeling overwhelmed. You might have emotions coming up that are really deep, the core wounds, the not enoughs, the self-worth, whatever the main core wounds for you, those are going to be showing up big time right now, especially with the amount that the frequency is rising. And for those of you that have a hard time processing your energy, managing your energy, knowing what to do with it, you're going to get shut down. And by shut down, I mean you're going to want to sleep. And we don't talk about this a lot, but sleep is a shortcut. If it's, and they want me to be very clear about this. It's not that you check out and you choose not to deal with your shit and you say, I'm just going to take something and go to bed, or smoke something and go to bed, or drink something and go to bed. It's not that aspect. It's this energy of, I just feel like I need to sleep. I just feel like I need to lay down and do nothing. So if the frequency is too much for you, and this is always a good sign too, because something that used to happen, people will often listen to my transmissions, my meditation transmissions, and they would say to me, I didn't hear anything. I heard the first few minutes and then I passed out. And then as you were coming out, I was coming to. And I always tell people, don't think that you missed anything. If the frequency is too much for your body to process consciously, they will shut you down. They'll basically knock you out and tell you it's time to take a little nap and let your body just go through the frequency increase that it needs to go to. Let the body do its upgrade. You don't need to be conscious of it right now. But the more that you're able to sustain that frequency, the more conscious you will be in it. So I always tell people, if you're new to me and you start listening to my transmissions and you're falling asleep in the beginning, and then a couple months later, you're able to stay awake through the whole thing, well, now you're able to sustain a higher frequency. That's what's happening to the planet right now. So if you're the person that's like, man, all I want to do right now is sleep or do nothing, the frequency is being too much for you. It's shutting you down. It's saying we need you to not do anything right now so that the frequency can do what it needs to do. And it's important for us to talk about this and to know this, because it doesn't mean you're lazy. It doesn't mean that you're not enough or you're not worthy or you're not showing up, right? It's going to trigger that responsibility wound. It's you recognizing there is so much going on right now that my body needs me to rest. It needs me to prioritize stillness. It needs me to prioritize being in silence or giving myself space or taking a couple mental health days, whatever you want to call it or do. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, in fact, it's something I would ask you guys to do in the comments, right? Tell me how you're feeling right now, how you've been feeling over the last couple of weeks. What has been the predominant energy? What is it that you've wanted to do? What is it that you're feeling? And we can talk about these things. So whether you are over anxious, over stimulated, overwhelmed, wired, you're conscious, you're able to hold that frequency, but it's overtaking you, or you're in the phase of the shutdown. And neither one of those is the right or wrong way. Again, everything is going to show up the way that it needs to show up for you, the way that you are able to process it. You know, something that I talked about on my private mentorship call today with one of my mentorees is something that we hear this a lot, right? You're always right where you're supposed to be. And it kind of feels like it's this divine thing, right? That you're always right where you're supposed to be. It's divine timing. And there is an aspect of that, don't get me wrong. But you're always where you're supposed to be based upon the decisions that you are making, the mental capacity that you are holding, and the emotional intelligence that you are sustaining, period. So, yes, you can miss opportunities. You can miss things that were meant for you. Because if something came in, an opportunity came in because you've been asking for it, but you weren't at the mental capacity to understand what was happening, and you weren't at the emotional intelligence to be able to sustain the frequency of that opportunity, to be able to sustain it, then you're going to miss it. You're going to miss the off ramp because you have to go back around again and again until you're able to do those things. And so so yes, you missed that opportunity. A new opportunity is going to come in, always will once you actually get to that level, but it's not going to be the same opportunity and it's going to look a little bit differently. And so you may think, "Oh man, this isn't what I saw myself doing." No, but it's what you can do, what you're able to do, and it's a little bit different. And this is some real honesty that we got to talk about, because there's a lot in the spiritual community who put everything on the divine and put no responsibility in our hands. And then there's the other side of it where we feel like it's all on us and we have no faith in the divine. This is a collaborative experience, right? You are an aspect of God. You are an aspect of consciousness, of the creator, whatever word you want to use. You're an aspect of it. The creator, consciousness, God, whatever it is experiencing itself as you. It's experiencing itself as this sweater, as this pen. But what this instrument does, what I do, right, is part of the free will. So we work together by taking inspired action, by doing our work, by ascending. And again, for those who are new to me, ascension, right, is going from carbon to crystalline. Carbon, old fossilized programming, into crystalline, transmuting that programming into wisdom by changing our actions, by changing the things that we've always been doing and doing them differently. And because we do them differently, that wisdom becomes the foundation of which we step upon moving forward, allows us to get off of the loop and move forward. So let's talk about the three major themes that are going to be showing up in October, which I'm sure a lot of you are already feeling. One is responsibility. Responsibility this is all multifaceted, right? It's all multidimensional. So it's not only means one thing. It doesn't only mean one thing. So what does responsibility mean to you? Do you always take responsibility for everybody else's stuff? Do you always feel like it's your responsibility to do everything, to how you feel, to your environment? Is everything always your responsibility? What are you not taking responsibility for? Again, I put out an Instagram reel and a TikTok today about this very thing, to where we know what it is that we are desiring, but we don't think we can have it because we're not willing to take the responsibility to make the changes that are needed to make that our reality, to make it real. And I use the example of losing weight. If you've ever wanted to lose weight, you're like, I know I have to give up the sugar. I know I have to give up this one thing or these two things or this mindset or this behavior or emotional eating. I know I have to give those up. I know I have to face that discomfort. I know I have to do the uncertain thing. But a lot of the times we don't want to do that. We're afraid of giving up that crutch of what our life will be at without our favorite food, right? So where are you not taking responsibility for your reality? Because this is a collaborative experience. So you could be doing all the things right for you, right? Because there's really no right or wrong. It's only right or wrong for you in particular. And things still not work out because it might not be divine timing. So again, collaborative experience. So where do you take too much responsibility, or where are you not taking enough responsibility for your own behaviors? Because responsibility is your response for your being. Hear me when I say that. Responsibility is your response for your being. It's not what you take on from other people. It's not what you should do, could have done, are expected to do. It's what you believe is the correct response for your being. That is responsibility. The other theme is self-worth. So with self-worth, it's going to bring up a lot of shame, not enough. I'm not worthy to receive that. I'm not worthy unless I do that. And I've had a lot of that showing up because I haven't been showing up, right? I haven't been posting every day. You guys know I usually post, especially when it's on Instagram and Facebook. I usually post something every day, not just a reel or a quote. I usually give in-depth guidance. I always give a ton of value to you guys every single day. And lately it hasn't been that way. I have I have been not posting some days. I have been pulled back. I didn't It's the 10th and I'm just now 10/10. I'm just now doing the energy update, right? I chose me. And that brought up a lot of self-worth wounds. Why? Because I had a program that taught me as a child. My program was the neural pathway that was built was, if I overgive, if I give even when I don't feel like I should, even if I give when I'm not feeling good, if I just give, I will get. So I would give 90 and I would get 10. I would barely get my basic needs met by over delivering. And that's a program I've been trying to break for a very long time. And so anytime that I pull my energy back and I'm not showing up and answering every PM and answering every comment and not just forcing myself to overgive, and by overgive meaning give when I don't have it to give, my self-worth is triggered. And just because and you know what, we need to talk about this too, because if you are a spiritual teacher like me, if you're a healer, if you're a coach, if you're someone in this industry and you're struggling right now and you have your wounds being triggered and you need to pull back and you need to give to yourself and you feel like a failure or an imposter because you should be further or you should be better or this shouldn't be happening to you, That's not true. We're all going through the same shit. It just looks a little different. My wounds still get triggered. I still face self-worth issues. I still have things that come up. The difference is I have embodied my tools, the tools I teach. QET, purification process, many other things. I'm really good at managing my energy. I'm really good at processing what's coming up. I'm really good at listening and holding space for myself. Doesn't mean it still doesn't suck. It doesn't mean it still doesn't hurt. It still doesn't mean that it still doesn't drain me some days. It just means I'm really good at recognizing, taking responsibility, listening, processing, feeling, being with myself. Because guess what? When you run out of things to do, when you run out of things to process, when you run out of things, it doesn't mean that every day you need to be looking for density. It doesn't mean that you're always going to be things, because sometimes these things come up and it's really fast and I move through it in a minute. Some days it's a day. Some days things are longer and I got to sit in it and just feel it. But when you think that you have no more issues, you won't be here anymore. We came to have a physical experience. This is the planet of feeling. It's the planet of emotion. We are meant to feel the gamut of emotion. We know what it's like to be in unconditional love. We know what it's like to be light and have our desires and align to them immediately. We came here to experience a spectrum much bigger than what we have in the non-physical. So we have a range of lower energies, what we call density, right? The lower feelings. It's not really lower or higher. It's just we're going to call it that because that's what humans are used to. It's not really good, worse than or better than. It's just what we label lower, what we judge to be lower. So we have a range of uncomfortable emotions and we have a range of loving emotions. We came to experience them all. And that's another thing that they have been talking about a lot with me personally, and like conversations with my guides, as I've been witnessing a lot of things happening on social media and the gamut of crap that they're trying to put out in the world, the fear mongering, the crazy. There's honestly, there's nothing I could see out there that would surprise me anymore, because it's like watching a very whack reality show. If you're watching anything that's playing out on the collective stage right now, it's like the wackest reality show you've ever witnessed. And I've just been talking to my guides like, this is ridiculous. Like, how are people even still buying any of this? And what do we do about it? And just having these conversations, because the human part of me is like, some of this stuff is terrible. And my guides constantly remind me that it's all consciousness experiencing itself. We are the ones that are judging it as good or bad. And I know that's really hard for some of you to hear. It's hard for me to process sometimes. But I need you to hear me when I say that. Because the more light comes in on the planet, the more dirt you're going to see. It's the simplest way I can say it. It's not that the dirt is new. It's not that the dirt hasn't always been there. That what you call evil, the bad, the crazy, it's always been there. It's just now that you can see it. You can see it now. You couldn't see it before. So the more light that comes in, the more dirt you're going to see. And what are we supposed to do? What would you do in your house? You would love that dirt. You would love it. You would love your home by cleaning it, by taking care of it, by being with it, by making your space feel good. And that's what you're going to be asked to do. So remember that just because you label it as bad or evil is just you judgment. And judgment, there is no judgment in oneness. And this is where the religious texts get it wrong. There is no judgment in oneness, only in ego. And ego is only a human concept. Actually, they're correcting me. It is a lower dimensional concept, because even fairies and elves have egos. So your self-worth, right? The not enough, the core wounds are going to be triggered this month, whatever your core wound is. And the third theme is energy management, which we've already kind of been talking about this whole time, how you handle when this comes up. What do you do when your body wants to shut down? What do you do when you feel these wounds? What do you do when you want to sleep all day? What do you do when you can't show up for the world? And what I mean by what do you shame and blame and criticize yourself? Or do you open your heart and go, holy crap, there is a little girl or boy inside of me that is really hurting right now? Do you have compassion? Because that is all you ever have to do. If we strip away every tool, modality, self-help book, if we strip them all away, and the only thing you ever did was have compassion for yourself, you would heal at an unreal rate of speed. That's it. That's all you got to do is have compassion for yourself, to give yourself some damn grace, to not feel like you have to fix it, change it, be different. You don't need to change your vibration right away. You need to sit in your pain. You need to look at it. You need to see it. When people are acting a fool out in the world, you need to see, damn, those people are in pain. It's not always hard. Let me tell you, being an influencer, being someone, I mean, I have like almost 60,000 followers on TikTok. You think I don't get haters? You think I don't get people who pick me apart? My eyebrows, my teeth, my hair, my voice, I've had it all. You have to have thick skin to show up in this world and try to be a light. Because anyone, when your light is bright, people can see their own dirt and they don't like it. Yes, this is recorded, it's on YouTube. So you can recognize, if you can hold that conscious knowing that when people, and that doesn't mean you let people be a jerk. It doesn't mean you let people treat you poorly. You got to have boundaries. Boundaries aren't a fence. It's what you will tolerate and what you won't tolerate, right? It's what your standards are. But it is allow you to have compassion and be like, wow, that person really does not like themselves to take the time to be that way to me. They're hurting. Or that person needs to be controlling and overbearing because they feel powerless. That's why we have crime, murder, all of those things is because people feel so powerless. The government, that's a big one. They feel so powerless that the only way they can find their power is to take it from someone else. So those in charge, or who think they're in charge, right? We've been programmed to think that they're in charge, need to put out fear into the world to make us feel small and powerless. But do you know when the world shifts? Got full body chills. When we recognize that we are the ones that are in power. You are the one who's in power. You get to decide. You, not just against the government and against anything and anyone. Nobody can take your power away. You can give it to them, though. And we've been doing that for a very long time. We've been allowing the fear and the stories and the narratives and the crap that they come up with and put out in the media as programming to program us. And that's shifting right now. More and more people are not buying it. They're not believing it. and the power is shifting. And because of that, you're going to see some crazy shit play out on the world stage. And a lot of stuff that is playing out behind the scenes is going to need a distraction. So, one of the things that my guides have said to me and that they're wanting me to share with you is ask yourself if that's what you're hearing, witnessing. If you're someone, I don't watch the news, but stuff comes up on TikTok, stuff comes up on social media, people message me stuff. So, we're always going to see it somewhere, somehow. Ask yourself, is this something I really need to worry about? Because most of the things that they have spread fear about never came true, at least to the extent that they wanted it to or wanted you to believe it would. And the only thing that you're responsible for is you, is the way that you see things, the way that you perceive things, the way that you process things, the way you allow it to rule or affect your reality, the way that you allow it to take your power or not, right? Or for you to give your power to it, I should say. So it's really, really important time right now because I can't say this enough. The rate and speed of which we can manifest right now is off the charts. And you've been following me for any length of time, I'm sure you've heard me say we are always manifesting. That's why I think that the law of attraction industry and the whole manifesting industry is a billion-dollar industry because they've convinced people that you have to do certain things to manifest. You're manifesting 100% of the time. And it often takes time for things to manifest, which means to be brought into the physical. So it's the consistent energy. Remember, whatever you do consistently, that subconscious current that's running is what is constantly feeding something, building something, going from energetic to physical. That transition from energetic to physical is very short right now. It used to take us a lot longer. Why? Because our frequency of a planet, the frequency of our planet was much lower. The lower the frequency, the denser the energy. So that means that it takes longer for the energy to form. It's got a lot more to work through. But when the frequency of the planet is higher, and we align with that frequency, right, where we're like, this is what we want, and that's the energy we focus on, it doesn't take as long to develop into form, to manifest into form. It doesn't take as long. There's not as much density or thick energy for it to work through. It's able to form very quickly. And the powers that be know this too. So their focus is going to be more fear-based because they know that they can manifest what they want very quickly if they can convince everybody. And the same goes for you personally. Whatever you are feeding and focusing on continuously is what's going to form in your reality very quickly. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean that you should be afraid to feel when you are in shame, when you are feeling in guilt, when you're feeling not enough, when you're feeling not worthy. It doesn't mean don't feel those things. It does not mean that. And it doesn't mean if you feel them that that's what's going to manifest. You feel it to heal it. And we all know this, right? What's her name? I forget her name. Louise Hay, thank you, is famous for that, right? You feel it to heal it. Here's the difference. When you don't move out of it, when you sit in it and keep creating new stories with it. When you truly feel something, it should shift very quickly. Let me give you an example. So yesterday I had a really hard day. I had major self-worth issues coming up yesterday, right? Full moon, I'm sure, intensifying it. Whatever. We had a huge frequency increase happening yesterday, like massive. And so the past few days, actually, past week, I haven't really been doing anything. I have been Netflix and chilling big time. I've been sitting with myself. I've been laying down, doing nothing, walking, just taking care of myself. And these waves will come over me where all of a sudden, I'll feel this intensity of not enough or unworthiness or the victim energy. Poor me. Why doesn't no one love me? Why is no one choosing me? All those crazy stories, right? But that feeling will all of a sudden I can start feeling it build. And I just let go. I let go. I let my belly out. I let my shoulders down and I just let it envelop me. And then I get angry for a minute. All of a sudden I'll get sad or the tears will flow. And within 30 to 60 seconds, it's died down and I'll be back to just chilling. And then the next wave would come and I would go through that same cycle. Most people, that wave comes in and they immediately stomp on it. They try to change it. They try to get rid of it. They eat, they scroll. When those waves came over, I hit the pause button on the damn TV. I hit the pause button. I stopped and I just I let myself feel all of it. And as soon as that feeling subsided, I went back to my life. That's how you know the difference. But when you set up camp in that feeling and you're like, yep, that's true. I'm not enough. I'm lazy. I'm this, I'm that. And you keep feeding the story. You keep buying into it. You keep giving it energy. Well, then, yeah, you're going to manifest that shit into your life. What you feed will form. What you feed will form. I keep telling myself a new story. But I allow myself to feel the uncomfortable with compassion. It's really important that you guys hear me say this. Another thing that's going to start showing up is we are really close. It's something I've talked about a few times. There's a lot of prophecies or a lot of people that interpret. I don't even know if it's the Bible that says this or something else, but like the end of times, the end of times. We're in the end of times. And what they're misunderstanding is we are in the end of time. Time is an illusion. It's not real. It's a linear concept. It's a human concept. Do you think we always had clocks? No. I think we always knew, we needed to get up at 9 and get off work at 5 or whatever, right? No. Time zones, all of that. It's all man-made. It's not universal. In fact, the past and future, it's all happening at the same time. It's all happening at the same time. Everything is happening simultaneously. It just breaks our ego, our human brain to understand it that way. So what's ending is time as we know it. Because time is fluid. It's a cycle. Everything's moving. Always. What makes a timeline? Points that we connected. This happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. Oh, look, a timeline. But if you're doing this and all of a sudden you're like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to jump over here and start going this way. Well, now this timeline has to collapse. And that's what happened in September. We were all just going along. And all of a sudden, enough of us said, no, we're not going this way anymore. Hold on one second. Sorry, I need to change my headpiece. So we were just going along. And enough of us said, yeah, no, we're ready to go this way. And that all what would have happened going forward, because it's already happened, had to collapse. And all of that energy now had to be moved over here. So I'm going to share something with you guys that I've only shared in my Solvation program or in private mentorship. But I feel like enough of you are ready to hear this. And if you want to go deeper, obviously you can. You can work through my courses, or you can message me for mentorship. But really listen to these words and see if you can wrap your mind around this concept. So we all know the infinity symbol, right? We all know the infinity symbol. When you are constantly in a pattern, right? This is a pattern. You keep doing the same thing over and over again. So if you're constantly doing the same thing over and over again, the same thing happens, right? Because everything's inverted. Everything's inverted on earth. Everything's inverted. So whatever you do is mirrored back to you. Whatever you are is mirrored back to you. If you start to do something different, this energy is like, whoa, what WTF? Where do I go now? And it gets chaotic. Some people call this the tower moment. I chose to go this way. This energy is like, whoa, I don't know what to do. This is uncharted territory. So the energy goes chaotic. But the more you choose the new action, the new behavior, the new mindset, this energy is being trained. Oh, wait a minute, we go this way. We go this way now. So anytime you change something in your life, you change the way you see things, you change the way that you react to things, you change your behavior, it's going to feel chaotic for a little time. It's going to feel off kilter. It's going to feel uncomfortable because you're going this way and the energy's like, we don't know what to do. This isn't our normal. It has to reorganize. So they're giving me an example. People always say, if it takes time for things to manifest, why do the bad things always manifest so quickly? Well, you have a history, a pattern, right? You have a very strong, deep pattern of that, of the things not working out for you. So your energy absolutely knows how to mirror that back to you very quickly. But when you do something you've never done before, to give you something you've never had before or never experienced before, your energy isn't used to that. It has no programming for that. It has to reorganize. It has to reform, and that takes time. You don't blow up a building and then the next day a new building's there. It takes time. Now, again, that space, how much time it takes is a smaller window now, right? It's what we feed, what we focus was what we feed will happen very quickly right now, but still it's going to feel chaotic and disorganized. So the more you make that new choice, see it a new way, behave differently, react differently, respond differently, whatever words you want to use, the more this energy is like, oh, okay, this is what we do. Okay, now we have a new form. And before you go, you're back in the natural give and take of the universe. It's no more so much like this, it's working in congruence. Now, this might be a little bit too much for you guys, but I know some of you are going to be like, holy shit, my mind is blown right now. Because you're always manifesting who you are. Your relationships, your reality is always going to be a mirror that you need to see. You ever notice why sometimes in relationships, you're like, man, every time I'm around this person, for me, there's one particular person that every time I'm around them, I do the most god awful things and say, and I've had to really like stop myself from doing it because it's almost like a compulsion. It's because their energy field is pulling that out of you because it needs to be mirrored back to them. Now, we can still be the conscious adults of our parts and say, we're not going to react that way. It's not our job to mirror or be the mirror. We don't have to be that. We can choose to have compassion instead. But it's a good example because most people know there's certain people around that they turn into an asshole or they turn into a bitch, whatever word, whatever you want to do. Or you trigger someone constantly just in your existence. It's because you're mirroring back that person's state of being. But we don't have to match energy anymore. We can choose differently. We can choose to be the change and to show them a new way and be a mirror of change instead. It's a choice we make. And not many people know that you have that choice. So what we're really ending is the end of time. I went off on a little tangent there, but we're ending time in the way that we know it. So You're going to feel like you might be losing more time. I've talked about this a lot before, how, I lose track of time, right? If I don't have a calendar or notifications, I wouldn't know what day it was, month it is, what year it is, half the time. Because all of that are linear concepts. But here's something I haven't really talked about, something that I have been experiencing for probably the last 2 years, maybe even a little more, in the form of time, is something could happen yesterday. Let's just put it this way: something could happen yesterday, and it will feel like it happened 6 months ago, not yesterday. Or something could happen 3 years ago, and it feel like it happened yesterday. And the reason why that is it's because whatever resonance we are in is going to help us to access those points in time. I hope you're following me here. We will no longer have a linear memory, feeling, or understanding of how things and when they happened. We're losing time in a linear fashion. So, the other thing that this is actually going to be awesome for is it's going to make you feel like yourself. For those who have felt lost or disconnected over the past couple of months as we're going through this massive restructuring, you're soon going to feel very landed in you, because there are versions of you in the frequency that we are stepping into that know what to do, that know who they are. Because the frequency is getting higher, you're accessing more grander versions of yourself easier. And those versions of you have been waiting to be embodied, waiting to feel at home, waiting for you to say, I'm going to choose what my soul is desiring and not what my ego wants, not what my inner children think they're expected to do. So while you may feel a little disconnected, a little ungrounded, a little light, and that may trigger you on another level, right? Know the difference between, I feel, a lot of people think that when their frequency increases, they feel ungrounded. There's a difference between being ungrounded and being in your light body. Because when you're grounded, that means you are in your body. And a lot of people are used to their body being heavy and dense. But as your body lightens, it's not going to feel that way. And it's going to be a little confusing, and you're going to feel like you're ungrounded. When in reality, if you can feel what's happening in your body, you're not ungrounded. If your nervous system isn't completely activated, if you're not, your nervous system isn't activated, but the fact that you feel so light is activating you, it's not that you're ungrounded. It's that you're not used to your body feeling light. It's not that you're not used to that. So a lot of people fight their frequency increasing because they associate being grounded with heavy, and that's not the same. It's not the same. Discernment is so huge right now. Okay? So one of the benefits of us losing linear time is going to be that you're going to start to feel more at home in your being. You're going to start to feel more like yourself in a way that I can't articulate yet, because I'm not there. I was there for the frequency that I was at, but I'm going through this change just as much as everybody else right now. Just at a different, we're all going through it at the level that we have to go through it at. So whatever that looks like for you cannot be compared to everyone else. There might be people who are going through it the same way, and that's great, because you're always going to have soul families, right? You're always going to have soul collectives that are going through the same thing. Why do you think we have flu seasons or cold seasons? It's not seasons, it's a group of people in a collective that are all going through an upgrade at the same time. And in that upgrade, they had to purge. And by purging, they had to have a high body temperature to alchemize some stuff, and they had to clear through nasal congestion and cough or vomiting. Whatever your body's going through is always connected energetically. I don't care what anybody says. It has to be that way, because everything is energy. So what do? we master our energy right now. And if you don't have good boundaries, if you don't have good energetic boundaries, if you don't have good physical boundaries, if you don't know how to manage your energy, if you don't know how to trust yourself, if you don't know how to discern, get some help. I don't care how you do it. Buy a book, get a course, reach out to a friend, work with a therapist. I have whatever. I have lots of opportunities to help you. Find help and take the action. Do the work. Commit. Commit. Because what I can tell you is right now, September and October are probably the biggest months of integration, the biggest chance you have of really changing your life drastically. And not that it won't change no matter what, it will. But it could go a lot more smoothly, and it could be a lot more managed and more directed and intentional by you. If you choose to slow down, have some patience, have some grace, and do what you need to do. And for some of you, you already have the tools. You already know the things. You're just not doing it. Or maybe you're doing it and you're like, it's not happening fast enough. You just don't have the patience, right? So again, there's always a level of responsibility we have in our reality. It's just a matter of you being aware of it and loving yourself through it, giving yourself a break. I used to ask all the time, God, I wish I could catch a break. And then my guide said to me one time, well, if you'd give yourself a break, you would catch a break. Duh, everything is inverted. Everything's a mirror. So let's read some of the comments of what some of the people have been experiencing. I'm going to start over on YouTube and Facebook first, and then I'll go over to TikTok. Um, Spain's in the house. Anxiety, depressive, and worried. Lost. I long for home and don't know where that is. That's a very common theme right now. Belgium, awesome. I've been up and down, some days energized and joyful, but full of sleep yesterday. Yeah, yesterday was I can tell you last night, I slept for like 12 hours over. I don't, as a channel, I don't sleep very deep. I don't sleep very much. And if I do, it's usually because I'm traveling. I slept like I was dead last night. So we went through a huge spike last night. So let's talk about depressiveness and worried and not feeling like you're at home. Um, this longing for home. Home, you've heard the saying, home is where the heart is, right? Home is always going to be within you. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned is being a nomad, traveling without a home and learning to feel safe in myself was learning that my body is my temporary home and how I can love myself and care for myself and create that feeling of home no matter where I am. So, Sabrina, I would ask you, what does home feel like? And if you were to find home, what would you imagine it would feel like? And how can you create that for yourself right now? What can you do where you are with what you have to feel what being at home would feel like? Because it's all internal. It's all internal. As for anxiety, depressive, worried, anxiety and worried are you in the future. And it's the fear of uncertainty. It's almost like there's a part of you, and a lot of us I'm sure can resonate with this. We feel, there's a part of us that senses what's coming. It senses the energy of change. It senses we're going to be in unknown territory, and it doesn't know who it's going to be, if it's going to be able to handle what's coming. And so it begins to worry. It begins to say, I need to run through scenarios. I need to run through scenarios. I need to be in control. I need to be over prepared, because if I can play out these 5 scenarios and have solutions for those 5 scenarios of what could possibly be, I will feel safe. But in that, what we do is actually start to feed those 5 scenarios and actually create that somewhere, some conglomeration of those 5 scenarios. Because again, what we focus on, we feed. And so it's important when you recognize that you're in anxiety or worried. Remember, anxiety is an abundance of energy. We actually are naturally abundant. Our energy is naturally abundant. So when you feel anxiety, you can be like, hey, I have an abundance of energy right now around me. Let me breathe with it. Because you're taking something personal. When you take something personal, you turn all of the arrows of all the energy and point it right at you. And when you're worried, you're saying, whatever's going to be coming, whatever's happening is my responsibility. It's all on me. How am I going to be able to do this? Do I have all the things I'm going to need to be doing? And you start to spiral. This is why I love my purification process, right? I see you, I hear you, you are safe, I love you anyway. I see you is you taking responsibility, calling that shit out. I have an activated nervous system right now. I have an abundance of energy. I'm taking it personal. I'm making it bigger than it is. Stress, I'm making it bigger than it is. That's what stress is, stressing, making something bigger than it is. I'm in the future. What is happening right now? What do I feel underneath my feet? What am I sitting on? What colors do I see? It's bringing you back to now. And you may need to do that 500 times in a day. One day you might only need to do 2 times. But it's bringing yourself back to the present, whatever it is that you're doing, and every sensation that it's creating in your body. When you're depressive, you're allowing the energies and the algorithm of the past to define who you are in this moment. The other part of depressive, and what's his name? What's his name? Anyway, it'll come to me. He is famous for saying, I don't know if he's famous for saying, but I've heard him say it several times. Depression should mean deep rest. There's a part of us that no longer wants to play that role anymore. It's tired of playing a role that's not serving it. It's tired. It doesn't want to play that role anymore. It doesn't want to be that person anymore. It doesn't want to be the person that has always been, that you've always been defined as being. It's exhausted. It says, I'm too tired to play this role anymore. I don't want to do it. It doesn't spark joy in me. It's not helping us grow, because sometimes the uncomfortable things help us grow, right? Sometimes we have to play the villain or the victim because it's going to give us a moment of growth. But if that role is played out, sometimes it's going to feel depressing because it's repressing you. It's holding you back. And it's always based on the algorithm of the past. The understanding these concepts can kind of plant the seed so that the next time those feelings come in, you can say, okay, what role am I tired of playing? What feeling am I tired of feeling? What story am I tired of telling myself? What do I want to feel instead? I hope these things will help you guys. I feel like a failure because I'm grieving so hard because of my mom and grandma. It's been very tough year, and my numbers are bad. I feel very, very bad these days. Well, first, I'm so sorry that you're going through that, but you're not a failure. You're not a failure. Grief is one of the most complex beasts that the human has to ever experience. And grief has its own timeline. And grief is very heavy, and it's very intricately weaved into so many things. It's very entangled energy. Very entangled energy. You feel like a failure probably because you feel like you should be able to move through it faster, that you should be able to be stronger, that it shouldn't be affecting you. And that's not true, because there's probably a part of you that just needs to be allowed to feel that way. Surrender and compassion are about not fixing it. It's the frequency of my purification process. I love you anyway. I love you even if you can't get out of bed. I love you even if you are waist deep in grief and you feel like you should be better than this. Because somewhere along the way, we had an emotion and someone said it wasn't okay. And we had to shove that emotion down, and a protector personality had to step forward and say, I'm going to be the strong woman or man, and I'm going to bulldoze through this shit. That's not healthy. There's just an aspect of you that's really hurting. Can you love that aspect of you? Can you have compassion and say, man, this really sucks, but what that part of me needs is love right now. I need to lower my expectations, because to think that I should be able to do the same things that I always could do when I'm feeling this way is absurd. That's how I got into adrenal fatigue, by the way. I was swallowed by grief, and I didn't know how to ask my partner for help, and he didn't know how. He wasn't emotionally intelligent enough to handle it. And so when he basically said my feelings weren't okay, I repressed them and I bulldozed and allowed my adrenaline to do the same things I always, to run my business, to take care of the kids, to take care of the house. And eventually my adrenals broke. And I spent a very long time not being able to do much of anything. And I still am in recovery. I used to work ridiculous amount of hours in my business, and now I don't. And I actually make more money, by the way, in case you wanted to know that. I'm so sorry for your loss of your mom and grandma, though. I send you so much love, and I want you to know that they're around you. And it's going to take time for you to get through this. The level of grief that we experience, the depth of grief that we experience, shows the depth of love that we gave to that person, place, or thing. And the only way it can be healed is if we, in turn, give the same depth of love back to ourselves. Not easy to do, but that's how you do it. Because it's not that they're not loving you anymore. It's that you were giving the love and they were returning it. But you keep giving the love and they're no longer able to return it. So you feel like there's a hole in your heart. You can still keep loving them, but you have to give the same amount of love back to yourself. Jeff Foster. Yeah, there's Jim Carrey. Thank you, Angela. Thank you. Jim Carrey. That's the one I was thinking of. I don't know who Jeff Foster is, but Jim Carrey's the one I was thinking of. All right, let me see. Let me look on TikTok and see if there's anybody that had what they were feeling that they want me to address. Sending all the love to the haters on here who are being silly. So busy, so much work to do, it never ends. I have been working so much towards my goals this last 2 months. It's been exciting but exhausting. Yeah, so you might be somebody who is like seizing the opportunities, right? That's amazing. And it can feel like all of a sudden it's go time for you, right? Because now the energy's here, the frequency's here, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, now it's your turn to go, and that frequency is pushing you. And it can be exhausting if you're overdoing it. So what's the difference between divine timing and divine alignment and overdoing it? You won't feel that exhaustion, meaning you could work for 20 hours. It's not that you won't be tired. And you maybe just had a poor choice of words here, but it won't be that, you won't be tired, but it won't be exhausting you, like deplete. When I hear exhaustion, I hear depletion. So the difference if you're doing something that's out of alignment for you, doing it for 30 minutes is going to wipe you out. You're going to feel so exhausted. But if what you're doing is energizing and expanding and lighting you up, you will it's constantly feeding you energy so you can go longer, you can work longer, you can do more. And again, you still will be tired, you'll still have moments where you're tired, but you won't be depleted. Where when you're doing something that isn't for you, what's not in alignment for you to do, it's gonna zap you really fast. Someone needed to hear that. Yes, there's a full moon in Aries. What does it mean? It means the moon the moon is full in Aries. um this if we're talking about the energy of this particular moon, this moon is activating our core wounds. So it's amplifying the already high frequencies that are coming in. But when we have, so let's talk about this for just a second. When we have astrological alignments, or things that are happening, that is the way that the guides describe it, is a moment that we decided to basically certain things to happen, certain things to be highlighted in the planet, certain energies to be highlighted, on the collective stage. For personal, each personal person, according to their chart, certain things might be activated during that time. That's why some people are like, during this full moon, I feel amazing. And other people are like, oh my God, I'm an emotional mess, right? Well, your chart is going to be very particular to you. So each astrological alignment is going to be highlighting something that you decided before you incarnated, like this, at this time we're going to bring this to the surface, at this time we're going to bring this relationship in, right? Or this energy is going to come up for us, or if we need it to be. So it's all divine timing, right? It's points collectively that we're going to be experiencing certain things, or certain things are going to be brought to the surface. And then for everybody personally, it's going to be personal to them. So if we're looking at it from a collective standpoint, because that's all some I can talk about, unless I'm doing something in private. And I do human design, but human design is more of an advanced astrology, working with the basis of just the energy and not so much the planets. But as a collective, it's highlighting the core wounds, right? It had a lot to do with the conjunction with Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer, and that is our deepest wounds. That means it is the root. We have a root that has our core wounds, and then that root has a tree trunk, and then it has branches, and then it has leaves, and maybe even has flowers. And so we could have 5 branches off of one core wound, and off that 5 branches there might be 100 leaves, and all of those things wouldn't have to be addressed if we somehow got to that root. That one root could collapse all those branches and all of those leaves. So I hope you understand what I'm saying by that. That's why I always tell people, like, when you think you've healed it, you just healed an aspect of it, you healed a layer of it, you picked one of the leaves off, you completely cut down a whole branch, but have you got to the root of it yet? So that's the important part. So our core wounds, at the deepest level, what we came here to get a better perspective on, to integrate, to have better understanding on, is what's being highlighted with this moon energy. See, look at all these people coming in here just to say rude comments. You just have to send them love, because they're hurting, or they wouldn't be saying something like that. Yay, it's awesome that you're sharing the same or something similar. We're always channeling, by the way, you guys. We're always channeling the same source, no matter who we are. We can only express what we're receiving. We'll all express it a little bit differently. We'll all channel it a little bit differently, because that information comes through our filters, and our filters are made up of our belief systems, our wounds, how we see the world. So what we're bringing in, we're always, always, always channeling the same source. It's almost annoying sometimes, right? When I wrote my book, I had to give credit to people that I didn't want to give credit to, but they were able to publicly say it and coin it before I could. And so I had to give them credit, right? But we're always channeling the same source. It's not that it's their words. Nobody owns anything, right? It's just the way that we interpret the same information. But we will find soul groups where we're saying almost exactly similar things. And that's amazing. It's validation, right? It's validation. So keep it up. Keep sharing the same things. Keep sharing what you feel guided to share from your heart, because you have probably a ton of people who can only hear it from you. That's why there's no need for competition, because there's people who need to hear this from me that if they went to the other person, they wouldn't hear it the same way. It wouldn't resonate. It wouldn't hit, because that's not who they were meant to hear it from. So beautiful. Keep shining your light. Keep spreading your word. Oops, I'm going too fast. Uh, South Africa in the house. Hey, girl, I know who you are. Texas in the house. That's where I am right now. Texas. An arc on the bridge to the new world at the end of time, light, consciousness, love, peace, wholeness, regeneration. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Whew. We're at 1 hour and 11 minutes. That's perfect. It's a good time to call it quits, right? So I hope that this was exactly what any of you guys would if I hope this is exactly what you needed. I just felt I wasn't planning on showing up today. I wasn't planning on going live, but I really just felt like it was time. I needed to just have this conversation with you guys, give you some insight as to what October is looking like, and to help you guys give yourself a break, because it's going to be an intense month. It's going to be intense, and that intensity could be amazing and it could be really challenging. Either way, it's exactly what you need. So love yourself through it. Have compassion. Know that it's happening for you and not to you. Only good can come from this. Only good can come from this. And if you desire help and you desire help from me, then go to my website or message me. If you desire help from someone else, go to them. If you have the tools and you just haven't been using them, use them. Help yourself whatever way you need to do it. So I hope this helps. I love you guys. Stay strong. You got this. You're already doing it. And I'm so proud of each and every one of you. And I will see you next time. Bye for now.